Working with a fearful dog can be, well, it can be absolutely heartbreaking. And the advice you get, it's all over the place. So today, we're going to dive deep into one of the most common, but also one of the most misunderstood concepts in dog training, flooding. We're going to break down exactly what it is, why it can be so risky, and most importantly, what you can do instead.
All right, so let's start with a piece of advice that I bet almost every single dog owner has heard at some point, especially if you have a scared dog. It's this whole idea of tough love.
I mean, that's the classic line, isn't it? Whether your dog is terrified of strangers or loud noises or other dogs on a walk, the go-to advice so often is, oh, they just need to get used to it. And, it feels like tough love, and it almost always comes from a really good place.
But what if getting used to it is actually doing the complete opposite of what we want? What if it's making things worse? This is where we run into a technical term for this approach. When it goes really wrong, it's called flooding. And seriously, understanding this concept is a total game changer.
Okay, so what does flooding actually mean? It's not just about a dog being a little uncomfortable. No, this is about pushing them way past a critical point, a breaking point, where their ability to learn just switches off and pure survival mode kicks in.
This definition right here is the absolute key. The dog stops reacting, maybe they stop barking or lunging, but it is not because they've suddenly had an epiphany and realized everything's fine. It's because their brain is so overloaded with fear that they just can't cope anymore. They shut down. That quiet you're seeing isn't calm. It's the quiet of being completely and totally overwhelmed. And this analogy just illustrates it perfectly, doesn't it? That person in the room hasn't magically conquered their fear of spiders. No way. They've just been pushed to a point of complete emotional and physical exhaustion. They've learned that screaming does nothing to change their situation, so they just stop. That is exactly what a dog is experiencing during flooding.
And that spider analogy, it translates directly into these really common dog scenarios. I mean, anytime we force a dog to endure something they find terrifying, like literally dragging them past another barking dog or holding them still while a stranger leans over to pet them, we are creating that room full of spiders for them. We're removing their choice, removing their ability to escape, all because we're hoping they'll just get used to it.
And this is the real psychological damage that flooding causes. The dog learns a really dangerous lesson, that their signals, they're barking, they're trying to run away, they're growling, all of it is completely useless. They learn that they are helpless. There's a term for this. It's called learned helplessness. And it can be incredibly destructive to their confidence and maybe worst of all, their trust in you.
So if flooding is the problem, what on earth is the solution? Well, the answer really boils down to one incredibly powerful concept: choice. The moment we give a dog a choice, we start moving away from harmful flooding and toward a much healthier and, frankly, much more effective approach.
Okay, let's break this down, because this slide lays it out so clearly. On the left, you have flooding. The dog is way over their stress threshold, the exposure is way too intense, and the crucial part, they have no escape. This just smothers their attempts to communicate, and in the long run, often makes the fear even worse. But then look at the right side. This is desensitization, or healthy exposure. Here, the dog stays under their stress threshold. The exposure is slow and gradual, they can always choose to leave, and because of that choice, trust grows, and the fear actually starts to shrink.
And that's really the heart of it right there. Flooding just asks a dog to endure a terrifying situation. Desensitization creates a safe situation where the dog can actually learn that they're okay. It's the difference between being held underwater and just hoping you can hold your breath long enough versus actually learning how to swim.
Now, this all sounds great in theory, but how do you know in the heat of the moment which side of that line you're on? Well, it all comes down to becoming an expert at reading your dog's specific signals. You have to become a bit of a body language detective.
And this right here illustrates the exact trap so many well-meaning owners fall into. We think it's working because the really obvious behaviors, the barking, the lunging, have stopped. But we have to drill this into our heads. A quiet dog is not the same as a calm dog. A dog that is frozen still can be way more stressed than the one that's making a ton of noise. The goal is to look for signs of true calm, not just the absence of chaos.
So what is a dog who's under their threshold, the dog who can actually learn? What do they look like? Well, their body is loose, kind of wiggly. They can take a treat from you gently, not snatching it like a piranha. They can look at the scary thing, and then, this is huge, they can look away from it, back to you. They can still hear your voice and respond to a simple cue. This is your green light zone. This is where the good stuff, the learning, actually happens.
Now, let's contrast that with this. A dog who is over threshold, they might refuse food entirely or grab it with a hard mouth. Their body will be stiff, maybe even totally frozen in place. They might be staring hard at the trigger, like they can't break their gaze. Or they might just shut down and seem completely unresponsive. This is the danger zone. No learning can happen here. It's just survival. And if you take away just one single thing about reading your dog's body language, please let it be this. When a dog is in that high-stress over-threshold state, the learning centers of their brain are basically offline. They are running on pure instinct and survival. Your job is to create distance, get them out of there until their thinking brain can come back online.
You know, understanding all this isn't about making you feel guilty about mistakes you might have made in the past. Not at all. It's about empowering you with the knowledge to build a better, stronger, more trusting relationship with your dog, starting right now.
Seriously, let this sink in. Most of us, if we're being honest, have probably done this without even knowing it had a name. We were just following common advice. You are not a bad owner for not knowing. You become a truly great owner the moment you learn, and then you adjust your approach. And the amazing thing is, dogs are incredibly forgiving when we finally start listening to them.
I absolutely love this reframe because it completely shifts your goal. The old question, how do I make my dog tolerate this, is all about control and compliance. But the new question, how do I help my dog feel safe enough to choose this, that makes you their partner. It turns you into their advocate. It's a huge, powerful shift from control to collaboration.
And this is the final thought I really want to leave you with. Success isn't a dog that silently endures a world they find terrifying. Real success is a dog who feels confident and safe enough to navigate that world because they know, without a doubt, that you have their back. It's about building their confidence, not just suppressing their fear. And when you make that your goal, everything changes for the better.